Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Tennent, and I'm a reader in management here at the School for Business and Society at the University of York.
I'm Dr. Alex Gillett. I'm a senior lecturer in marketing at the School for Business and Society at the University of York. We have a website called Soccer-Mad Boffins, and it's where we put updates about our own research as well as other things we're interested in where academia meets the business of football.
We also do things that are a little bit fun. So for example, every major tournament, such as the World Cup, we make our own predictions and put them on the website, but we also use a dice to predict the outcome entirely randomly as well. And then after the World Cup or after every tournament, we try then to compare the actual results to a fully random approach.
Probably the first piece of research we did was investigating football clubs, the business of football clubs, and the involvement of public sector, particularly local government, and the way that football clubs can provide facilities such as leisure centres for the public, and why public money might get spent on football clubs. We began with a book chapter and then also did a journal article that was published in the Journal of Management History.
And we also have looked at the intersection of football clubs with the wider business community and local authority as well. So we've looked at how local employers and how local businesses, so an organisation such as Brewers, for example, try to use football and local football clubs in their sponsorship, and also the governance of local football clubs, and the intersection with other things they do, like the provision of leisure. So we look at how those businesses use football clubs to promote their business as well.
And a natural progression from that was to investigate the FIFA World Cup and the hosting of that. It started with us looking at the football clubs hosting it, and then beyond that we were looking at the local organising, the national organising, the interaction between the Football Association and FIFA, and these interesting relationships and networks which occurred.
So when we first looked at football clubs, we were interested in the condition of the stadium, and we found that in some cases the British government had given funding in the 1960s for England to host the FIFA World Cup. And this had happened, or we were interested in this around the time of the 2012 London Olympics, when the hosting of the Olympics in London was, and the funding of it by the government was controversial. But we found that when we looked at the 1966 FIFA World Cup, that there were similar motives given for the government to provide funding. So there were things like, there was an interest in legacy, there was an interest in providing a kind of lasting reminder, if you like, in football and beyond, in the economy and society. There was a hope that it would enhance Britain's soft power, and also provide and help to boost exports and the economy at the time. So providing both manufacturing exports, but also increasing tourism as well, and this kind of thing. So there was a real hope that there would be economic and social impacts coming out of England hosting the World Cup in 1966.
Kevin, so that research went really well for us, and we produced some really good publications from it that we like to think were well received. One was a book, Foundations of Managing Sporting Events, about the organisation of the 1966 FIFA World Cup, and that was published as an academic monograph, a full book. And also we did a number of book chapters and research journal articles out of that. We found it really interesting, and it led us to also then look at other editions of the FIFA World Cup. Most significantly, we looked at the hosting of the 1994 FIFA World Cup in the USA, and we looked locally at the San Francisco Bay Area. What was really interesting there was, again, this need for legacy and the involvement of the community, and they were trying to provide a legacy out of the money raised to then fund community groups, and that lasted for quite some time. That led to a really good journal article in Public Management Review, and another one where we looked at the 1966 World Cup and the 1994 World Cup, called Opportunities for All the Team, which is, we were also really pleased with. So yeah, it's it set us out on a really good stream of research and some really great publications that we hope will be useful to other researchers. And already people have begun doing their own work, looking in depth. Some of the things we've introduced, they've then taken further with other studies of other hosting and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so we found that between 1966 and 1994, the commercial side of the World Cup had got more advanced. By 1994, there were more advanced attempts at things like merchandising and associated products and all this sort of thing, as well as more advanced attempts at selling actual tickets as well. So there are all sorts of categories that people could buy with an enhanced kind of match day experience and this kind of thing in 1994 that simply weren't thought of in 1966. So we could see that evolution there, and this was quite interesting. We also looked a little bit at the attempts to provide legacy and how this fed into attempts to start soccer as a professional sport in the USA, which led to the establishment of Major League Soccer, building on the earlier North American Soccer League as well. So we found quite a lot of interesting findings around this. And then most recently, we did a chapter on the history of the World Cup overall for a book edited by Simon Chadwick and some other authors. And we found in that chapter that the World Cup had always been important in an entrepreneurial sense. So it had always been an event that was intended basically to fund FIFA over the 4-year cycle between tournaments right from the start. So even from the first World Cup, the World Cup earned kind of supernormal profits, essentially, which were intended to sustain FIFA over the 4-year cycle. But as time goes on, these profits get bigger and the opportunities for exploiting them expand as well through broadcasting and sponsorship and merchandising and all these kinds of things.
So most recently, we've begun to look at the history of the Olympic Games, particularly in Great Britain. London's the major host city, but the history extends beyond that. And this has been a real longitudinal piece of research with much more to discover than we first thought. But we're really enjoying that and looking forward to publishing from it. I think we've got some interesting things to say, and that people who've enjoyed our work on FIFA World Cup and football clubs and the business of football will also enjoy what we're looking at with the Olympic Games and the sort of the business, the project management, the planning and delivery, and at times government intervention with that as well.
And we're also doing some work on the role of referees and administrators in football and how they essentially transferred, as professional men, they essentially transferred the corporate structures that they knew from industry and from local governments into football, allowing for the structure of things like refereeing, but also more broadly, the way that associations like the FA and then later on FIFA and other organisations that hold the game together and essentially make it happen in an organised way. So how those kinds of structures allowed football associations to work together and to form a kind of a global system that allowed the game to grow as a business.
So thank you very much for listening to our short introduction to our website, which we hope you find very informative and useful to your own research. We like to think there's lots of informative things on there for people, not just about what we do, but other things we've observed or reflected on in the studying of the business and management history of sport.
Yeah, and we hope that you'll be able to come and visit the blog and keep up to date with our research as we continue to update it. And we'll also hopefully be doing future videos in this series as well.